DIY.
DIYers. You know, my favorite sport here on this channel at times is making sure that we are critical when people are glitching out, specifically in hip hop. One of them people that have been a constant target of this criticism has been the actions of a certain Aubrey Graham over the last 365 days. It's almost been a year since the Like That verse dropped, and then all hell broke loose and one of the craziest fall-offs that I've ever experienced in my lifetime occurred. However, today is going to be a little bit different. The difference in this is that something really weird happened at the Oscars the other night. In an event that usually focuses on TV shows and movies, there was a really weird joke that was made about halfway through this production by its host, comedian Conan O'Brien. And I'm going to tell you what's weird about it because, you know, it's really easy to chalk this up as, oh my God, of course, all of these award shows are taking shots at Drake. He's an easy target. Plus, it'll get you some numbers. It'll get you videos like this reacting to it. But something about the source that it's coming from looks a little bit weird under the light. And because my platform stands on truth, we got to call it for what it is. Here's Conan O'Brien, for whatever reason, saying this.
Well, we're halfway through the show, which means it's time for Kendrick Lamar to come out and call Drake a pedophile.
Something different when they land the jokes, right? It's something different when they land the jokes. One more time, I want to remind you, this is Conan O'Brien in Hollywood having a conversation about a PDF, alleged PDF. Just for context, this is for Hollywood, in front of Hollywood, and they're talking about PDFs openly as a joke. Just for context.
Well, we're halfway through the show, which means it's time for Kendrick Lamar to come out and call Drake a pedophile.
Now, I was the first person, especially when the Super Bowl happened and Kendrick stomped him out and said his whole name and did the whole first verse. I said, yeah, that's how you eat your food. That's how you resolve it. But that's because that was an issue between Drake and Kendrick in a matter of violation in a back-to-back. What does nigga got to do with this? What do the Oscars in general have to do with this? And why does this find its way into the conversation? Yes, it's a hot topic, especially in our circles of hip hop. The hell are the Oscars talking about it, especially with all the funny cases circulating around there? And that's not even allegedly. Well, to get more information on this, we got to go over here to Hip Hop DX because I'm really curious about, is it something that he wrote? Did he come off the cuff? What is it? Because there's a lot of award shows I wouldn't give a damn about had they not somehow involved themselves in the middle of this chaotic back and forth. In this article written by Sam Moore, it says Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef turned into Oscars joke by Conan O'Brien. I'm lawyered up. As if Kendrick and Drake's beef hasn't already been dominated by pop culture, the high-profile feud has now fueled some of the comedy fodder at the Oscars. While hosting the Academy Awards on Sunday night, Conan O'Brien made reference to Kendrick's controversial claims about his fierce rival on his hit diss song, as well as his recent Super Bowl halftime show. You just heard the line right now, and then he follows that up with saying, "Don't worry, I'm lawyered up." That's the part of the clip we didn't see. The writer behind the jokes would have a writer. You need a writer for that one. It's funny because if we talk about Hollywood and all the funny cases they got and the fact that entertainers cannot deliver their lines without a writer, you kind of got more with Drake than anything else. By your logic, you kind of got more in Drake than anything else. Y'all both use writers. That's fucking crazy. Skylar Higley later commented on the moment on social media. I wrote the Kendrick Lamar joke and bet our executive producer $50 that it would kill. Just made $50. Thank you to the Academy and S&P for folding and not cutting this joke. I have to believe, right? And I'm not, once again, this video is not about coming to the defense of no Drake, but I gotta believe at some point, this is somebody being taught a lesson. This is somebody being taught a lesson. This to me feels like, from an outsider standpoint looking in, this seems like UMG is saying, we about to make your life a living hell. No matter where you look, no matter what products you buy, no matter what commercials you look at, you will see us, no matter what TV shows. I even saw a TV show that has nothing to do with hip hop culture talking about Kendrick all of a sudden. It feels like this is all part of an effort to win a very silent war. Once again, I am not defending Drake at all. That's not what this is at all. But I'm looking at it under the light and I'm like, remember when Nas told Jay-Z, I know you ain't talking about me, nigga. You? Whoa, Drake, you been on my nuts and you love my style. I know you ain't talking about me. It goes on to say neither Kendrick or Drake have commented on this viral joke. The fact that they did it for $50 for some shit that has nothing to do with them is insane to me, by the way. Oh my God, this Oscar joke from Conan O'Brien. Well, these are Twitter users. Drake's beef with Kendrick Lamar, which has reached the legal arena, took a twist recently. A twisty is wild, as a Canadian rapper reached a resolution with iHeartMedia, who he had accused of being paid by UMG to play Not Like Us on their many radio stations across the country. Drizzy's lawyers also referenced Kendrick's Super Bowl performance in a letter filed to Judge Antonio Vargas in his ongoing defamation case against UMG. His legal team argued against delaying discovery, citing Kendrick's record-breaking halftime show, during which he performed Not Like Us, as an example of the harm that comes with waiting. Delaying discovery would unfairly prejudice Drake, who is continuing to suffer the consequences of UMG's defamatory campaign. Indeed, at the same time, UMG has been delaying here. UMG launched new campaigns to further spread the defamatory content, Not Like Us, including at the Super Bowl. It goes on to say, it goes on to talk about the performance. They're just kind of filling out an article. But once again, can I draw your attention that this is a Hollywood event? Hollyweird, some people even call it. Can I draw your attention to that? Didn't we just a year ago have to hear of some horrendous stories from young Nickelodeon actors and actresses? Didn't we just get a full part series of folks acting hella weird, literally on PDF action, with evidence on PDF action? It's the wrong people making the right jokes. It's the wrong people making the right jokes. If you guys forgot, let's make sure that we bring our receipts. The investigation discovery documentary takes a look at accounts of problematic working environment at Nickelodeon. This is in March 20th of 2024. The source is New York Times. It says the investigation discovery documentary, Quiet on the Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV, is a 5-part series about working at Nickelodeon, including the environment under former producer Dan Schneider and what some described as harmful situations that child actors and adult employees were put in. It premiered last month and is streaming on Max. Schneider, who parted ways with Nickelodeon in 2018, doesn't appear in the docuseries, but former writers, child stars, staffers, and journalists paint a picture of the environment at the network starting in the 1990s through his departure. Schneider said, watching over the last 2 nights was very difficult, me facing my past behaviors. So he's admitting some of these things, some of which are embarrassing and I regret, and I definitely owe some people a pretty strong apology. So if you did not watch the story, it took the account of many well-known child actors that were on the set in Nickelodeon at that point in time, aka still talking about Hollywood, the same one that thought it was appropriate to make jokes like this, talking about the very uncomfortable, the very unsafe, the very violating environment that exists in Hollywood. They're all giving these accounts about these inappropriate relationships that some of these people tried to have. One of those being Drake Bell, who publicly speaks about his abuse for the first time. I can't even get into the details of it because, especially, just first of all, as a human being, it's horrendous to hear what some of these folks went through. As a father, add on top of that, it's like I can't even imagine the type of anger that goes through my mind. And I must remind you, this is not a defense of Drake in his weird ass ways or behavior. But this is where was that criticism when he was on your show?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth. And
What if you feel so freely to talk about this kind of shit on an award show, where is that energy when niggas was on your show? Where is that energy when y'all was shaking hands? You know, Hollywood is so damn fake, just like the music industry. Where's that energy when these folks are here? Why does it take something like this? Why does it take something like this before we can start making this joke? I'm going to tell you right now, moderators, anybody in here coming in here saying it's not that deep, boot they ass. Boot they ass. This conversation's above their weight class, and so are future ones. Boot they ass, please. This is bigger than that. My thing is, maybe he didn't know. That's a fair assessment. Well, when he did know, what did he do about it? And if his definition of knowing was getting the same information as us, all of this stuff has been readily available. No. I think that people choose not to know and turn a blind eye to it when it's convenient, when you can make the money. And now that they can make money off of your demise, there it goes. I look at this and I'm like, this shit is so weird. That shit is so weird. Yeah, make sure y'all snipe anybody that volunteers either. Yeah. Well, then let me go. Good. I'm glad you stood up. This shit is weird. But you know what? He's not helping his own case. Drake is not helping his own case. We called it not even a year ago. Said, hey, look, not even a year ago, about a couple months ago. Let's say about 6 months ago. It was like, bro, if you just chilled, if you got out of the public eye, a lot of these would lose steam. A lot of these conversations would lose steam if you just got the hell up out the way. But the fact that he keeps showing up, you know, after he canceled his tour, one of the first public events that you saw him at was a WWE event. I can't imagine how the fans may feel who bought tickets to going to see him live.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I can't imagine how them fans feel who were looking forward to this after not having the opportunity to see them in their country for years and years and years and years. Well, not only is he there and loving being the center of attention, he couldn't wait to get on camera and throw up miscellaneous signs. Take it away, Drake.
Fantastic on ESPN Plus.
It's going to be great. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know, this week, TKO and
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, you know, like I said, in no way is this in the defense of, but at the same time, when I look at the source of certain jokes, somebody brought up a point, and it happened to be somebody that was an OVO fan, and I had to kind of give it thought because I was like, at least they're not using low emotional IQ when they say this. But they're like, could it be that the powers that be that exist in this arena are trying to turn this conversation into such a joke that the topic itself becomes more of a joke to other people? That we could just casually say this at an award show. Just think about that for a second. What role does it have to be said at an award show? He didn't say PDFs. He said the whole word. I don't know. Like the part of me that obviously, you know, that I'm hella biased. I'm hella biased when it comes to this topic. It's Kendrick all the way. But when I see these other powers that be get involved, I cannot help but feel like they're trying to teach the boy a lesson. Last thing I want to draw your attention to, I'm not going to play the clip, but I just want to close the loop on this since this is Canadian related. Friday, Ricky Dredd invited me on his platform, and I went right there in the middle of the Lion's Den, and I had a conversation with a bunch of folks that for about 90% of the time did not agree with anything I have to say. And I still went there and had the conversation. Well, by the end of that conversation, which I thought was a very patient conversation, Friday Ricky Dredd said this: great conversation with brother Curtis King. My apologies once again to @DJ Head.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
For the misunderstanding. And mega salute to the company, man, for bringing us all together. This was a productive conversation. So, you know, this week is going to get really interesting, DIYers. This week is going to get really interesting because I'm tired of hearing from the same Canadian voices. I'm tired of hearing about how did it go? It went pretty good. What's the dirt jumped out, and he had no reason to jump in that middle of that conversation, but he finds his way in a lot of cultural conversations that have nothing to do with his knuckle dragging ass. But he brought himself in the middle of that one. What he did was he also created an issue with somebody he should not have done that with. But we'll talk about that in a second. With that said, tomorrow we're going to have a conversation with a Canadian podcast or two Canadian podcasters from a podcast called Mandem, the Mandem Pod, because I think it's important to start having conversations that are outside of our echo chamber. It's important to have conversations with people who don't represent just one side of Canada. I want to know how other black folks feel in Canada, because it's not just one perspective of black in here. Where I'm at, there's not just one perspective of black. There's many perspectives. So I want to get to some of those other perspectives in Canada. I want to know about the other sides of Toronto. And that's what we intend to dig into with that conversation. And then, fingers crossed, we'll have another conversation this week. That one I have to wait until I get final word for that. But that being said, DIYers, you know, in a way, this is what Drake asked for. The moment that you stepped into this arena with Kendrick, you should have known the moment that you started violating that there would be no limitation. But I think that the moment he jumped into a lawsuit with UMG, I think that that was truly the beginning of the end. And now I think what they're doing, in my humble opinion, all allegedly, is they're showing just how far their reach goes. Don't mind me, I'm with a foil conspiracy hat. This seems like they're showing just how far their power goes, because what other reason would Conan O'Brien, a comedian, have to be talking about this? And my thing is this, you can't never trust the machine, because the machine is loyal to the machine. If that can happen to Drake, it can happen to any artist in position. DIYers, these are just some thoughts that were circulating in my head. Maybe I'll feel a little bit different by tomorrow. I don't know. But these are the first thoughts that come to mind. You let me know what you think. DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Stop being greedy. Peace.